Alright guys, quick update. It's June 8th and these are all of the rhododendrons that we potted up earlier this spring. They're in 2-gallon pots. Got some awesome varieties going. Teddy Bear, Senator Jackson. Still haven't got that one to take. There were some cuttings that didn't quite root, but I thought we'll give them a second chance. Well, we'll see what happens, but they're not looking so hot. One of them right there in the back, he's still got some leaves that aren't curling over. Anyway, I was talking about before, I'm going to start air layering those and see if I can get them to take that way. I've air layered fruit trees and they take real well to that, so we'll see what happens. I need to get out there and make that video about air layering for you so you can see how I do that. But we got some Taurus rhododendrons, some unique marmalade, and for any of you that are interested, I got a question the other day about what the name of the rhododendron on the banner of my YouTube channel was, and it is a unique marmalade. So there is the unique marmalade plant, and it is a very beautiful variety when it's in bloom. It's a real tight, compact variety with just awesome leaves, and it'll get big over time. I've seen one that at the nursery that I bought it from that was about, I think it was like 7 or 8 foot tall, but it was probably 25 years old. So it takes time, but they look really nice. What do we have here? Some Anna Rose Whitney, which is one of my favorite varieties. It's an old-fashioned variety, but it just always blooms. It always looks nice. Can take sun and shade. Yaku Sunrise, really nice variety. We got Edith Bosley, a real beautiful deep purple with a deep purple blotch in the center. One of my wife's favorite. Odike Sensation, that one gets red new growth, really nice. Cherry Cheesecake, now that one is a variety that really beautiful blooms. However, the plant is a little bit, it's not tough. You have to start it when it's young and put it in some nice soil and just really water it well and get it growing well. You might have to prune back a little bit. Here is a cherry cheesecake that's several years old in a, is that a 3-gallon pot, I believe? But you can see the plant gets real big, and the stem here, for some reason on these cherry cheesecakes, there's a couple other varieties that do this, but on the stem there, it's a little bit, I don't want to say weak. It's strong with a strong root system, but it can kind of be moved around quite a bit. If an animal or a deer or something walks past there, brush it, they can break them, they can knock them over. I've got one plant out in my landscape that I get all my cuttings from, and I've never had any damage to it. However, I did have to stake it, and it has been staked for a few years now, but gosh, it's such a beautiful plant. You got to do whatever you got to do to keep the thing going. Big, beautiful leaves, nice new growth, and the flower is just awesome. There's a variety that looks very similar to this that is a little bit older, and some people prefer it because it's got a stronger, more solid trunk, and it's called Hackman Charmant. If you're interested, I've got some of those as well, but that variety's been a little tougher to propagate, but I do have some cuttings of it. There's a nice new one, Pink Pearl. I got that from a friend of mine, and it's the only one I've got, so I'm gonna have to take some cuttings in the next few years once it puts on some growth. But anyway, we've got some Marley Hedges, real neat purple variety, kind of looks like grandma's hat. But Anna Kruschke, that is an old variety, old ironclad. It's been around forever, probably since back in the 50s, I don't know, maybe even longer. But Anna Kruschke is just a tried and true one that'll just bloom year after year. It'll turn into a giant hedge if you want to, which I've got a bunch planted out in the front that will be a hedge eventually. It will take lots of sun, it'll take shade, it's a purple variety, it'll bloom no matter what. So that's a good one to have in tougher areas along roadsides that, take abuse, get dirt kicked up, get sun, that kind of thing. Snow Lady, real touchy. Now, that is a polar opposite of Anna Kruschke. This one's a small little guy. It's got it's not tough to grow. I've got one growing really beautifully in a landscape, but it's under a pink dogwood. It's in deep shade, and it's just well protected. So some of these varieties you just got to kind of keep protected, but it's one of the first bloomers of the season. It gets beautiful white flowers, just pure white flowers, and it blooms, I think it's like March time frame. It just depends on how soon the spring comes on. Sometimes, I think one year it started blooming in the end of February, but really beautiful, small growing rhodey. You can see the leaves have that fuzziness on them, little hairs. See if I can get this to adjust here. I don't know if you can see that in this camera, but the leaves get those little hairs all over them, and it's just a little bit more of a fragile rhodey. But we've got some of those guys. We've got some PJM Elite. Now, I used to have more PJMs, and I sold them to a local nursery. Really nice variety. They take lots of sun, and in fact they look better in full sun, or at least 80% sun, because the leaves, they start out with green growth, and they turn into more of a deep bronze maroon kind of color, and then with that maroon color through the winter, when they bloom in the early spring, they're also an early blooming variety. They bloom with just a beautiful pink, and that contrast on the deep maroon is just awesome. In fact, let me show you. I've got some PJMs here. So this is a PJM, the one in the back, and you can see it's got some smaller leaves there, and the new growth is green. And in the spring, the new growth usually kind of turns a little more, or the old growth turns a little more green. It's kind of different. But with the PJM, the blooms aren't as vibrant. They're pink, but they're not like they don't pop. With the PJM Elite, which is what this one is, a little bit bigger plant. You can kind of see them. There's the PJM. There's the PJM Elite. It's a little bit bigger plant, bigger new growth, little bit bigger leaves, but the maroon, that deep maroon color that these will turn, is just a lot deeper, and the flowers that bloom are almost fluorescent pink. They just pop on that deep maroon color. Really nice plant to put out along the entrance to your place if you get some sun there, just kind of lining the border, your fencing or something. They will get bigger. You can prune them. Another thing that's neat about this variety is a lot of rhodies, like this one right here, it puts on, you know, one whirl of new growth. Boom, there it is. One shoot of new growth. Sometimes when they're younger, it'll do 2 in a season, but that's it. Now, if you prune back to right in the middle, boom, you won't get new growth the next year right here. You'll get it way down here where the buds are. On the PJMs and PJM Elites, some varieties are like this. You could see, maybe, there's buds all the way along the new growth, and leaves all the way along. So you could prune. You could prune here, you could prune here, you could go up further. You're going to get buds no matter where you prune. So they're really easy to prune. They're really easy to keep into a nice, tight, compact plant. And they're really an awesome, outstanding, beautiful plant. So, boy, that was a mouthful. What do we got back over here? So, we've got, after the PJM Elites, a variety that I'm pretty excited about called McNabbie, or McNabbii maybe is the way it's pronounced. I don't know if that's a species or not. A lot of the species end with 2 eyes. I don't think it's a species. I could be wrong. But it is a smaller leaf, smaller growing rhododendron. However, very, very fragrant. In fact, I think it's one of the most fragrant rhodies that you can find. There are a bunch of older ones blooming at the hospital that I work at, and well, they're not blooming right now, but they're growing at the hospital, and they're probably, geez, I don't know, they're probably 15, 20 years old, and they're 4 foot high. And when they bloom early, by the way, I don't know, probably late January, maybe February, they bloom. That entire area is filled with a beautiful aroma, and these are just a really nice plant. But I got a ton of cuttings, and they're all taking, and I'm just excited about the new blooms and the fragrance. And then I've got Ramapo, one of the smaller leaf rhododendrons, not the smallest, but one of them. Not as excited about this one. I bought it a while back, and it's a really neat variety because it's smaller leaf, but it's just, you know, another variety to have, but it's kind of neat. Not all the cuttings took, but some of them did. We'll see how it does as it grows. I think it's going to need more full sun, or not full sun, but more sun. I've got the one right now that I have in a lot of shade, and it just grows real lanky. That's just a house plant. What is this guy? This is, oh, that's the Nuttle. That's the variety that grows in India, which is a more tropical kind of environment. So this one won't make it through the winters here. I don't know, maybe it would make it through a winter if it was warmer, but it's not going to make it through winters that get snow and freeze. So I bring it in the winter, and of course, because I bring it in, and in the deepest part of winter in Washington State, we don't get a lot of sun for long periods of time, so it's sitting in a window, and some of the leaves start dying back. I brought it out here in the springtime, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago, and it's starting to really green up. I repotted it, put some fertilizer in there. It's really starting to green up. I'm waiting for the new growth, but geez, I wish I could get this to grow in my landscape, because it's probably one of the most beautiful rhododendrons I've ever seen bloom, and the new growth is just wild. It is really neat. Look it up, Nuttle. Google it, Google pictures of it. Here, I'll give you the name again, but really neat variety. But unless you live in a more temperate location or a tropical area, not going to get this to grow out in your landscape. I don't know, maybe somebody in Northern California could grow that in their landscape. But you can see all the new growth we're putting on here for the season. I got to get all of these varieties out of here. By the way, I sold almost everything, or I thought was almost everything in here, to a local nursery and a few other individuals this past late winter, in hopes that I could kind of make room for new rhodies, which I did. I was able to pot up everything in my propagation frames, and they've all got room in here. However, I need to get, I mean, I'm just amazed at how much I still have left. But a lot of these varieties I just have one of, and they're varieties I've collected over the last year or so, and I need to get them planted out on my landscape. So we're working on that. We're clearing more area. We're going to be planting out. I'll take some videos of all that. Here's some hydrangeas my wife's really excited about. She wanted to get those this year. Don't have any hydrangeas planted out. Always wanted some. We're just going to have to find some nice spots for them. So we've got, I know hydrangeas can be popular with some people, so we might as well look at the varieties. This is Penny Mac hydrangea, and anyway, there's the picture of what it looks like, more of a pink, soft pink. And then this is one of those, where are we at? The one in the back there is supposed to be a blue variety. And there it is. Now, I hear people saying, you know, if you keep it, or if you add acid to the soil or nitrogen or whatever, it'll turn the colors. I'm not interested in all that. I just want to plant them and give them a nice healthy place to grow, and whatever color they want to be, they can be. I did specifically buy this variety because I wanted a deep pink, and it's starting to bloom now. It's not all the way fully developed yet, but this one is called Glowing Embers. And I know that's a popular one. You can find them at a lot of nurseries, but I really love that, just that deep pink. So that one's going to be planted out. And we got a few lilacs. All of our species are growing awesome. The species rhododendrons. I love these things. Gigantic leaves. You just can't beat it. They're going to take more shade though. I'm going to work on clearing an area out for just these species rhododendrons. I do have a few species planted out in my landscape now, but these guys are all going under a well-protected canopy of firs, and I'm going to have some wind protection with some hybrid rhodies along the outside of all of that canopy. And of course, my all-time favorite species, Hydrangea. Now, I think I've got a video somewhere of this Hydrangea when I first bought it, and it was, shoot, probably 3 or 4 foot tall. And a couple, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I took every cutting off of it I could get because I wanted some, and only 2 of them took, and there they are. But the parent plant died because I basically stripped it of every bit of new growth, which probably wasn't the smartest thing. I won't do it again, but thank you, Jesus. I got one out of it, or I got two out of it, one growing really nicely. This is the one that gets 3-foot leaves in the fall. Or in the fall. This is the one that gets 3-foot leaves in the wild where it grows in its natural habitat. Right now those leaves are probably a foot long, and they'll get even bigger as it matures. But anyway, that's the update for now of Kincaid's nursery. Thanks for watching. Adios.